So tonight we're going to start chapter 3, and this will probably won't have a test for a couple of weeks at least on this. Chapter 3 is an important one. It's been a little bit of time. The grades will be in tonight for I should say, well, let me say by tomorrow. They'll probably be in tonight, but just to be certain, let's say noon on Tuesday. Any question on that? Okay, hopefully you guys got the email. It has occurred to me I did not upload today's. Oops, chapter 3 handout. But if you get the chapter 3 handout, I'm going to try working out of just that today instead of doing the overhead thing. We'll see how it goes. I can always go back to the overhead thing. Is there anyone that does not have the chapter 3?
Yeah, I didn't see it. Did you just post it on the Blackboard?
I think he gives through email, just like a couple.
Yeah, I sent it through the email, and just now, I just posted them on the in Blackboard. So yeah, if you didn't get it, if you didn't get the email, go to Blackboard under the what's it called, course files, I think, course files, and I just posted it. The emails are still kind of erratic. My camera's doing something funny here, and not in a good way. All right. I think I made it worse. Try to get centered here. Okay, so yeah, you should get the if you didn't get the email, the files are in Blackboard under course files. They should be there by now. And if you looked earlier, click out of it and click back in, maybe they'll be there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the file now, which is should look like that. And I'm going to go to, let's go to the last page in it. I probably should have put it first. But let's go to the very last page, page 9. Kind of explains what we're going to be going through. Kind of explains what we're going to be going through for today. Chapter 3 is actually a really important one. And we're going to say goodbye to our financial income statement. Goodbye. And we're going to say hello to our managerial income statement. So I kind of want to go over just kind of the differences between these two and kind of how they're used. The financial income statement, this is what you guys have always seen before. This is one that has sales, cost of goods sold, like we did first 2 weeks. Gross margin or gross profit, same thing. subtract out expenses and get the income. And for what it's used for, it's fine. So this is the financial income statement, and this is one we've been using in all the accounting classes up until now. And it does a good job of calculating the income. We look and see what things go into cost of goods sold and what things go into expenses, and we kind of separate those out. You have income. And the users for this are everyone. If you want the financial income statement for, say, IBM, you can look up online and you can download it for free. Two different places. You can get it from the SEC. You can also usually get it from their website. But the financial statements, anyone can get them. So if you want to invest in a company, Coca-Cola or whatever, you can get their financial statements, and everyone can get those. There's no problem with getting those. And they're made for everyone to use. The managerial income statement is a little bit different. It starts out pretty much the same. We have sales. But then it switches here. You'll see it says variable costs. So these are costs we'll talk about in a second, and they vary. They go up or down. And those come in second. So there is no cost of goods sold. It's just variable cost. And then we have instead of a gross margin, we have a contribution margin. These are not the same things, by the way. These are completely different, and same up here. People say, well, will those be the same? No, they're not the same. It'd just be dumb luck if they were the same. So we have a gross. You don't have a gross margin. We have a contribution margin, which we'll talk about. We don't have expenses. We have fixed costs and income. So instead of cost of goods sold and expenses, we have variable costs and fixed costs. And those are the two main parts of it. Variable costs and the fixed costs. This is the income statement that we're going to use to make decisions. And this is for managers only. Hey, wait a minute, it's supposed to be red. So this is inside the company. You cannot get this managerial income statement. If you want the managerial income statement from IBM, you have to work for IBM. And this is the one we're going to use. And this one is better for decision making. So this one, the financial income statement, there's nothing wrong with it. It's made to report income, and it does a fine job of that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But the managerial one, this is what managers use. People in management of a company, this is what they use to make decisions.
Professor, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Does the income come out to be the same for both statements?
Most of the time, no.
No.
Nope. Yeah, then there's some reasons why. It has to do with fixed costs mostly. The fixed costs are things that stay the same every month. So, for instance, if you were renting a factory, that would be a fixed cost. Well, you remember that, renting anything for the factory is going to go into cost of goods sold. So you'll actually have fixed costs up here. And you could also have ones down here. You could also have variable costs down here too. So yeah, no, the income will usually not be the same. It's possible it's the same, but usually no, because it'll just the way they categorize the cost.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so usually the sales are the same. I can't think of a way they wouldn't be the same, but the rest of these could all be different. And the only way the sales would be the same is if they use like a budgeted amount for the managerial instead of an actual. But the unit sales or whatever will be the same. So anyway, so this is we're gonna, and so we're gonna focus the rest of the quarter pretty much on this one over here. This is the one that we're gonna be using because we can make decisions with it.
Question.
Yeah.
So, isn't there two ways, like we could, from the managerial point of view, like two ways to calculate income? Like, first is like calculate the fixed costs like later, towards the end of the income statement. I learned this like last semester. I think there's like two ways.
Yeah. There are
What was
definitely
that called again?
there are definitely different ways of calculating the income, and it has to do most of the time they have to do with the especially the inventory of how costs go through the inventory. There are different methods of that. For what we're doing, we're not going to worry about the inventory, what's left in the inventory. So it's not going to make any difference for what we're doing. But you're right. And here's another thing about managerial income statement. Well, let me go back to financial income statement. Financial income statement, there's all kind of rules that you have to follow. Right? I mean, they tell you this is this is this, this goes here, this doesn't go here, this goes over here. They tell you exactly what happens. If you think about a managerial income statement though, and just management in general, they can make their decisions however they want. Right? I mean, someone can't tell you how to make a decision, So there is a lot more leeway in different methods that the companies can use, and many companies will have their own ways of calculating things. It's not unusual to have, we use this or we use that, to do this, and they have reasons for doing it. But managerial is not. There aren't any rules. You won't find any hard set rules that say you have to do it this way to make your decisions. So it's very, and the book I'm sure goes through at least a couple of different methods, but there could be dozens of different methods. But for what we're doing, it's going to be pretty much the same. We won't have to worry too much about inventories and all that kind of stuff. And quite honestly, for a lot of the decisions, it doesn't make too much of a difference usually. Okay, now here's the difference between these two, is that for the regular financial statement, we focused on what it actually was. What is it? Is it overhead? Is it advertising expense? Is it whatever it is? We focused on specifically what the item was. For the managerial income statement, we focus on the behavior as production changes. Variable costs will vary with production. Fixed costs will stay the same with production. So I'm going to go ahead and go down here and do the kind of definition thing here. So variable costs are I don't know if I do it in capital. We'll try that again. They're costs that will increase in total as production increases. So variable costs are costs that will increase in total as production increases. So what would be some examples of that? Suppose we're making bicycles. What would increase? What would increase the total cost if we're making bicycles? So one bicycle compared to two bicycles, and so on and so forth.
Materials.
Yeah. So, example. Materials, like for instance, let's say wheels. For one bike we need 2 wheels. For 2 bikes we need 4 wheels. So the more bikes we make, the more wheels we're going to need. So cost that increases production increase. So materials, wheels, a lot of times labor. The more bikes you make, your employees either have to work longer or you have to hire new more employees. So the more bikes you make, the more labor you're going to pay for. Those are some of the, those are probably the, some of the usual things. They could also be things like sales commissions, though. Something that has nothing to do with manufacturing. So, excuse me. If you're paying people $10 for every bicycle you sell, that's a variable cost. It behaves that the more bikes you sell, the more commissions you got to pay out. More times, if you sell 100 bikes at $10, you have to pay whatever. If you sell 200 bikes, you got to, spend twice as much on the sales commission. So things that, anything that varies with the production is going to go into the variable costs up here. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with manufacturing. It could be, sales. So variable costs are costs that will increase in total as production increases. Let me get fixed costs up here. Fixed costs are costs that will what?
That will stay the same?
Yep. Yeah, fixed costs are costs that will stay the same as production increases. So they're not going to change. And what are examples of that?
Be like
Rent?
Yep.
Utilities.
Some of the utilities.
The open up the option like the pop up the picture.
One more time.
I think somebody left their mic on.
Okay.
Somebody else. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, rent, utilities. It could be people who are paid a salary. If they're paid hourly, it'd be variable most likely. If they're paid salary, you get the same salary no matter what. Then that could be a fixed cost. So you could have, say, a supervisor on the factory floor who gets paid a salary. That would not be in the variable cost, that'd be in the fixed cost. Because whoever that supervisor is, they get paid the same amount every time. Utility salaries, sometimes insurance, depends on what. So these are the variable costs and these are the fixed costs. By the way, there are some things that fall into both categories. You talk about utilities. If you talk about something like electricity, if you have one person in the place, you got to have the lights on, right? And if you have 50 people in the place, you have to have the lights on. So the lights would be fixed, right? The cost of the electricity for the lights would be fixed. You have to have them on whether there's one person or 50 people. However, if you're building things, it might take electricity to build, the bicycles, maybe use electric tools or something like that. So it is possible, though, that there is a part of it that is variable too. That the more you make, you're using more electricity and so forth. So there are some things that will be in both categories. So they have some variable and they have some fixed. I think they call them mixed costs, but you try to separate those out. And actually, the next chapter we're going to cover, chapter 10, we'll kind of see how we do that, how we can actually take things and separate them out between variable and fixed.
So right now, are we doing, absorption income statement?
No.
Costing income statement?
No, we're just doing the the managerial, just the managerial income. Absorption costing is when they actually absorb some of the costs and put it in there. We're not doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, let's say there's different methods of doing it. And usually what they come across is what goes into the inventory, and the inventory costs that are left are what a lot of times they talk about absorption, they call cost being absorbed into the inventory. Again, there are different ways of doing this, of calculating it. And again, there are no rules for it. There isn't like you have to do one or the other. Let me do something here. I'm going to say it's a little working copy so I don't overwrite anything. Okay, well, so let's go up to, let's go back to problem number 1. Let's cabinets. Okay, so one of the things that we can do in using our managerial income statement is to do income calculations. And these income calculations, we can actually do what-if scenarios, which is something that we can't do with the other one, but let's see what I'm talking about in a second here. Okay, so we have the following data. We have a selling price for this, whatever it is. We have a variable cost per unit. And we have a fixed cost. And we want to know, what is our income if we sell 1,000 units? Okay, so our new income statement looks like this. And actually, I want to make it even simpler than I showed you. So we're going to have our sales minus our variable cost. And don't write this in just now. I'm gonna show you something here that make it a little easier. Oops. Equals our income, sometimes called the operating income. If you say income, that's fine. Operating income really is kind of a misnomer anyways. It's not really operating income is something you usually see on the financial statement. So anyway, if we just want the operating income, we can actually even do away with a contribution margin. So you can just have sales minus variable cost minus fixed cost equal to your operating income. I'm going to change that to stay income. They use operating income as a managerial focus one, but there actually is an operating income on the financial statements that is not what that one is. Okay. So let's take a look here. So we have sales. We have 1,000 units. And we're selling these for how much each? How much are we selling each one?
What are we selling?
$70.
Yeah, we're selling, I don't know. Who's doing that? Okay, so the selling price is 70 each. It doesn't say what we're selling, but each one we're selling for 70. Okay, so 1,000 times 70, 70,000. Is that money coming in or going out?
Coming in.
Yep.
I thought you
70,000.
said somebody who was coming in or out. But you meant money, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and now we go to the same thing for variable costs. And they're telling us that each item is a variable cost to us. They don't tell us what it is, or what they are. There could be dozens of variable costs. But they say the variable cost per unit, in other words, the total variable cost is $50. So each one of these is costing us $50. And is that going to be a plus or a minus?
Minus.
Minus. Good. Yeah, so that's not the right number. So this is money going out. So 70,000 came in, 50,000 is going out, and fixed cost, we have $8,000. And you'll notice something, that's not per unit because it's going to be exactly the same every time, right? If that's rent, whatever, or whatever. Okay, so that will be our income. Handy dandy calculator. Is that 12,000? It's 12. Yeah, 12,000. So our income would be $12,000. Any question on that?
No.
See if you can do the one at the bottom here. Change the spacing here a little bit. So see if you can do the one on the bottom here. Say, okay, suppose instead of 1,000 units, what if 2,000 units or so? Oops. Wait. Okay, so this is so 40,000 is coming in. Got my spacing here. Okay, so I think that's what you should have for the second one. Okay, so true or false? If you double your sales, your income will double.
False.
Oh, yeah, it's going to more than double. And the question is why? What?
Oh yeah, that's a good thing.
Because the fixed cost is the same.
That's exactly right. Yep. It has to do with these. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, because these two would be the same. Is not change. That's why this is more than double. And by the way, this is something that you cannot do with a regular income statement. If you double your sales in a regular income statement, you don't know what's going to happen because there's fixed costs and variable costs all over the place. Whereas this, if you're a manager, you can say, okay, if we increase our sales, we'll know, pretty much how much it's going to change our income because we're looking at the behavior of the cost, not trying to categorize it for what it is, but how it behaves. And so as long as we get those all together, the variable cost and the fixed cost, we can do it. And you'll notice that there's going to be some change here because these fixed costs don't change. It can cause some things. If there's any fixed cost at all, doubling your sales will more than double your income. Okay, let's go to page 2. Now, page 2 has a little bit of quirk to it. Not too bad though. And that is we have more than one variable cost. Not unusual. You could have hundreds of variable costs, but we have more than one variable cost. And we could list them separately. Nothing wrong with doing that. Like we have just one up here, you could have 2 or 3 or 10 or however many. A lot of times it's easier just to add them all up into, say, total variable cost per unit. So what I'm going to do here. So let's see. And again, you can leave them separate. There's nothing wrong with leaving them separate. What is that, 31? Oh, that's not how you spell unit, is it? There you go. Oh, that's not how you spell it either. There we go. And so again, so this is what I'm going to use for, the variable cost per unit. But again, if you kept them separate, there's nothing wrong with that. You just get the same answer. It's just easier to use. Sometimes you put them together. Okay, so see if you can figure out how much they would make if they sold 500 units, and how much would they make if they sold 600. Again, this 31 is just me adding those two together up here. That 31 is that 31. 24,000. I can't be right. Okay, so page 2, I think this is what you should have. Again, this is something you cannot do with the regular income statement because you don't know what costs are variable, you don't know what costs are fixed, you don't know what's going to happen as you increase just your production. Excuse me. Okay. Coming down to page, so this is basically figuring out your income, and as long as you know your selling price per unit, your variable cost per unit, and your total fixed cost, then all you need to know are the number of units that you have, and you can figure out what the income is. And you can also play games of, I don't think play games, but you can also play, do what ifs. What if we sell, instead of selling 500, what if we sell 600? What would happen to our income? That sort of thing. And by the way, here's how you'd use this. You're going, you even now just making a decision based on this. Suppose if you spent an extra $100 on advertising, you would sell another 100 units. Would you want to do it? So you spend another $100 on advertising, and it would cause your unit sales to go up by $100. Would you want to do it?
No. Because it'll be a wash, wouldn't it?
Well, let's look here. If you're
Oh.
if you so you're at 500 units and you can sell 600 units for another $100 of advertising, would you want to do that? And you're going to look at the income. So if I spend $100, whatever, a radio spot, let's say. So $100 for a radio spot, and I can sell 100 more units. Would you want to do it?
I say yes.
Yeah. Because your income went up by what?
900.
Yep. Took out 100, so yeah, 900. Yeah, so would you spend $100 to get back 900? Well, yeah, you do it as many times as you can. So this is one of the ways that you'd actually use this is that to make decisions of, do we want to do this? So if you were to spend $100 and get 900 back, you'd say, yeah, I'll do that as many times as I can.
Is there a ratio we could use, like in this case, like to compare like how much we can make per unit?
Yeah. Yep.
Like the income like 2,500 divided by 500, which is like $5 a unit, or if you do the 3,400 divided by 600, which is like $5.60 a unit, something like that.
Yeah,
Or
and actually, that, you know, as long as you make more than $9 per unit, it's most likely a good deal. You know, because if you're selling them for 40 and it's costing you 31 to make them, anytime that you can get more than that back, you know, that the per unit amount of more than, I should say, anytime less than $9, if you're spending less than $9 per unit, you want to do it. So, and you know, and until the advertising goes over $900, if the advertising were $900, you get another 100 sales, you'd say, okay, it doesn't matter. So anything under the 900, anything under the $9 per unit. Yeah. And as you get, you know, as you get used to using these, it'll, you know, that kind of stuff will come to you. But yeah, so this is, yeah, kind of basically how you make decisions based on this model. And again, these are things you cannot do with the regular financial income statement, because you don't know what's going to happen to the income. Which is why they use this one. Okay. Let's go down here to cost, volume, profit. And this is another another problem you often get, well, actually for decision making too, that you have, and that is trying to figure out how many units you need to make so that you break even. And when you break even, that means that you're making $0, right? You're not making any money, you're not losing any money. So the break-even point it's kind of an important one, because anything below that, you're going to be losing money. Anything above that, you'll be making money. So a lot of times they talk about the break-even point, you know, being very important for, you know, for making decisions on what to do. Okay, so can anyone figure out how many units would we have to sell, given these this is the selling price per unit, this is variable cost, and this is the fixed cost. How many units would we have to sell to break even?
2,000.
Yes, and that was quick. All right, I'm going to show you how I kind of show it. There's a number of different ways you can do it. You can do it with a formula. You can do it a few other ways. But what I like to do is lay it out exactly like it is, like we did the other ones. But instead of going down the page, you know, sales, variable cost, fixed cost, I'm going to do the same formula, but going across the top of the page. Okay, so oops. All right. So again, this is exactly this thing, sales minus variable cost minus fixed cost is the income. It's just I'm going across the top of the page. Okay, so what we start out with is our sales. Now, we don't know the number of units, but we do know that each unit sells for $50. So I'm going to do something over here. I'm going to say, okay, units equals X. Okay, so what I'm going to say is we don't know how many units there are. But we do know that each one sells for $50. And we go over to the variable cost and kind of the same thing. We know what it is per unit. It's $30 per unit. We just don't know how many units there are yet. The fixed cost we know is 40,000. And at break even, our income is so this equation so if we just solve this for X, this will tell us what our break even is in units. Okay. So let's see here. 50x minus 30x is 20x. Yeah. Foolish thing to do. What was that? So 50x minus 30x is 20x. Let's insert my little arrows in here. So this will go in here. Doesn't look even, does it? All right, and then we want to get all the numbers on one side. So how do we get this 40,000 on the other side? How do we get this 40,000 onto this? You know, we want
you added.
Yep. Staring down. You add 40,000 to both sides.
Yep. I guess I got chair.
Okay, so
Yeah, but
So is this mysterious house?
so we know what budget and how we time and how we save time.
okay, so this will wipe out that, and then over here, this will be it's 40,000. Let me get those two closer together. So we have 20x equals 40,000. It's just this line. It's just I'm just taking this, kind of scrunching a little closer together just to make it easier. Okay, so if we want to solve that for x, what do we do?
Nobody
Divide
in there.
40 to 20.
Nobody in there. You see this?
Okay, so we're going to divide by.
Have you his posted new videos? He claims that
Facebook.
he is not
Yeah,
especially
Facebook.
scared by the creepy paranormal incidents in his home and only wants
I
to
give my
document.
Okay, so both sides by 20, so then we end up with, oops, too far. X equals 2,000. So that's how many units we will need to break even. Oh, I don't know what that is. So break even in units would be that. Now, we also might be asked, well, what would that be in dollar sales? You know, this is how many in unit sales, but we want to know how many dollars are we going to get in when we sell these.
Multiply by $50.
Yep. So we know that we're selling each one for $50. What is that? 100,000. I better get the calculator out. Yep. Okay. By the way, I think I'm going to do this with that one just to kind of show you what, you know, kind of bring it back to what we just did. If we were to do this one in our regular it would look like this. We had 2,000 times our sales. We have 2,000 times our. No, that's not right. 30, which would be what, 60,000? Our fixed costs were 40,000. So all we're saying is that we sell 2,000 units or $100,000 in sales, we would break even. Right? It looked like, for what we did for the first page, it looked like this. And now, if we made anything more than the 2,000, we'd actually have some income. Because we've already covered the 40,000, and now what's the difference between those two? $20. So every one that we make after this will make $20 on it. Question on that? Okay, let's go to B. And for B, and B says, okay, what if we don't want to just mess up the spacing here? I didn't mess up the spacing here. What if we don't want to just break even? What if we want to make some income? You know, instead of just making $0, what if we want to make some income? Now, everything is going to be exactly the same in our setup, except for what? So here's the setup from above. This is for the break even. What is going to change?
Instead of the 0, we would have what, 10,000
Yep,
for the income.
that's exactly it. Everything else is the same. Our selling price is the same. Our variable costs are the same. Our fixed costs are the same. The only thing that's going to change here is we want $10,000. Okay, so everything else here is going to be exactly the same. Except that now instead of now instead of $0, we're going to have 10,000 in here, but we're going to go ahead and solve it the same way. I'm going to put this on a different page. Okay, so I'm just going to try to get these a little closer to you. Oh, okay. That's just this line. Let's move it down here. Okay, divide both sides by. Oops, too far. We'll get x equals $2,500. So that will be our break-even point in units. And each one of those units sells for $50. So our break-even, scratch that. Our target income of 10,000, we have to sell 2,500 units. Or another way of saying the same thing would be to sell $125,000 in dollar sales. And I think I'm going to do this. Down here, just to kind of show you that this is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And this will give us 10,000. Which is what we want, right? Target income. But one thing about doing it this way is that you can actually do just about any, without memorizing any formulas or anything. You can almost solve for any equation they give you doing it this way. If you memorize the formulas are going to be a little bit faster than this, but this way actually can get you through most of it. Okay. Well, let's do another one of those. You guys want to take a break? Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what, we'll push through. We'll get out a little bit early. We'll go ahead and push through this one. Yeah. So anyway, so let's see here. Oh, this one you may want to add those two together. You could do them separately. There's nothing wrong with doing them separately, but sometimes it's just easier just to put them together. I did that wrong. Okay, I think that's what you should have gotten. Any question on that thing? Okay, well, I think we'll stop there.
Activities surrounding the
Professor,
ambulance
can I see
is a
number
bit
3,
strange.
part B?
One is that
I'm sorry?
Can I
some
see
things
number
happen to
3,
her in
part
the ambulance
B?
during her time.
Yeah, the 3 part B.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Oops. So next week, I think we'll start working out of the textbook a little bit next week. So see if you can have the textbook by then. Actually, I think I might go ahead and. No, you know what? You got the test to turn in today. Yeah, so next week, see if you can get the textbook because we're working on the textbook next week. And we'll do a problem or two together, and I'll assign you a problem or two. But so next week we'll go ahead and start working some more out of some of the textbook problems. So there won't be any homework this week. This week, just turn in the chapter 1 and 2 handout, practice exam, and exam. And then next week we will start working in the textbook some out of this chapter. This chapter is going to take a little while, so a lot of what we do is going to be built off this chapter. So it'll take a little longer on it. That's fine. It'll speed things up later on.
Question, Professor? Yeah, can you do like a once over, like a scroll from top to bottom, just to make sure I got everything,
Sure.
if you don't mind?
Yeah, let me. So. There's page 1. You know what? On the test, most people will miss this one. We do a couple more that if you look in the back of it, they look kind of hard, but more people miss the income calculations than any other. I hope I'm wrong. I hope everybody gets it right. But if the past of other students is an indicator, more people miss this than anything else. I think because it's so easy, you don't study it. Tells you, take this number, take that number, multiply. Okay. Right, and then this is page 2. Oops. Oh, no, this is page 2. There you go. Do you guys like me doing it on in the handout directly, or is it better when I do the overhead?
Whichever way works. Same to me.
Okay. Well, if you have any preference, let me know. It doesn't matter to me which way I do it.
I like this way.
Okay.
When you're doing it now,
All right.
it's like we could see like the whole picture.
And you can actually read it, which is something you can't do with my handwriting. So, yeah. And this is page 3, and this one's gonna. This is actually gonna be over 2 pages. You don't need to do this down here. That was just me kind of showing you what it would look like if you did the same as on pages 1 and 2. Kind of proving this will actually give you income of 0.
All right, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. So we'll do some more. We'll do some of the textbook next week out of this, and we might get to some of these other ones in the handout. But make it the taxes one. It's not too bad. But we'll certainly do some of the handout ones from those. Any questions? Okay, so nothing out of chapter 3, but just make sure you turn in the chapter 1 and 2 handout, practice exam and exam. That's due tonight. So hold on to this handout. Don't turn this in. This will be turned in when we finish it. Make sure you save it. Okay. Any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Oh, gee. I got a question. Why is my camera on task? All right.
No, we're good.
Okay. Well, if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me, and we'll. The exams you should have been. The exam, I emailed them out to you. If you didn't get one, if you didn't get the email, let me know and I'll send it again. So, Taryn, you didn't get it, I'm assuming? There would have been an email from, I think, it's not last week. I think right after class. I think it was a week ago, which would have been the 1st. Yeah. See if you have it. If you don't have it, let me know and I'll send you one. And that's for everybody. Anybody. If you didn't get an exam, go ahead and email me. And if you don't think I'm getting your emails, go ahead and email my personal email address, and I'll send it to you.
Were we supposed to email you the exam or post it on Blackboard?
Put it in Blackboard in the.
Oh, okay.
I should call this something different, but in Blackboard it's called submit all coursework here, and this has everything that's due in it. So I probably should call it something else, just assignments and tests. I don't know what, but this is where you submit it, and this will tell you exactly what is going to be turned in. We didn't have any textbook problems, at least there's no textbook problems here, but
Okay.
yeah. And if you submit it and you're not sure if it went through, you can go ahead and email it to me also, just to make